Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a global financial system that's built on something more than just profit. It's based on a really strict ethical blueprint. We're going to break down the core ideas of Sharia finance, and we'll be using Chapter 4 of the book, Islamic Accounting in Indonesia, as our guide.
So, let's kick things off with a pretty big question. Just for a second, forget everything you think you know about finance, and ask yourself, what would a system look like if it was designed from the ground up around moral principles, fairness, and the well-being of the community? To even begin to answer that, we have to start with the most basic concept of all, wealth. Because in Sharia finance, the whole idea of what it means to own something is seen through a completely different lens.
And right here, this is the crucial shift in thinking. The money in your bank, the assets you've got, they're not seen as 100% yours. Instead, you're a steward, a trustee. You've been entrusted with that wealth. And believe me, every single financial decision flows from this one powerful idea.
This lays out the three big responsibilities that come with that trust. It's kind of like a complete life cycle for your money. First, how you get it. Has to be legit. Second, how you use it. You've got to be responsible, use it for good. And third, how you distribute it, by sharing it and making sure it benefits society as a whole. Okay, so if wealth is a trust, then anytime you deal with that trust, you need a solid, clear, and fair foundation. In Sharia finance, that foundation is the contract, or what's known as the aqd. It is the absolute building block for the entire system.
The aqd is at the very heart of every single transaction. And you should think of it less like the fine print you scroll past and more like a sacred promise. It's a formal, binding agreement that's all about creating total clarity and making sure everyone agrees from the get-go. It's designed to stop disputes before they can even start.
And this slide really breaks it down for us. It's simple, it's logical. You need the parties involved, what you're actually agreeing on, the object, has to be crystal clear, and of course, there has to be a straightforward offer and acceptance. The whole point is to wipe out any doubt and make sure everyone is on the exact same page. Now, this is where we get into what really makes Sharia finance so unique. You know how a building has safety codes to make sure it doesn't fall down? Well, this system has a set of prohibitions that are like safety codes to prevent economic harm and exploitation. All right, so here's a quick rundown of the main things that are off limits. Some of them are things we'd all agree are unethical, right? Like fraud and bribery. But for the rest of our time here, we're really going to zoom in on the two big ones, the two most foundational prohibitions, riba and gharar.
So first up is riba. This is probably the one you've heard of. It's often just translated as interest, but it's a bit more specific. Riba is any guaranteed fixed increase on a loan. And the core ethical issue here is that one person gets a guaranteed, totally risk-free return, while the other person has to bear all the risk. And what's really fascinating, and our source material points this out, is that the ban on riba wasn't just this sudden command. Nope, it was revealed gradually in 4 stages. It began by just comparing it unfavorably to charity, then it linked it to wrongdoing, then it limited the really excessive forms of it, and only then was the final absolute ban declared. It was a process of gently guiding society away from a practice that was everywhere.
So if you can't have riba, what's the alternative? Well, it's trade, or jubilee. And the key difference is making money from debt versus making money from real economic activity. See, with riba, one side gets a risk-free profit and the other gets all the risk. But in trade, both sides share in the risk and the potential reward of a real transaction. One that involves actual goods or services. Profit is totally fine, but it has to be connected to a real asset. Okay, on to the second major prohibition, gharar. This one is all about banning transactions that are built on a shaky foundation of extreme uncertainty. If the key parts of the deal, like what's being sold, what the price is, when it'll be delivered, if those things are super vague or speculative, then the whole contract is basically invalid. And this is the perfect way to think about it. You can't sell me a specific fish that's still swimming around in the ocean, right? Because who knows if you can even catch it? You can't sell something when its very existence or delivery is a total gamble. The whole principle of gharar is there to make sure that contracts are based in reality, not just on a roll of the dice. All right, so let's take a step back and put all of these pieces together. We've got wealth as a trust, contracts as the foundation, and these key prohibitions acting as guardrails. So what does the big picture blueprint actually look like? It really all comes together in these core principles. First, finance has to be tied to the real world, to actual goods and services.
And from that, it follows that risk has to be shared, not just dumped on one person. All investments have to be ethical, and pure speculation is out. And holding it all together is the sanctity of a clear, fair, and honored contract. This is that ethical framework in action.
And that leaves us with a final thought. In a world that's constantly dealing with debt crises, crazy market swings, and is searching for more sustainable ways of doing things, Code a financial blueprint built on principles like risk sharing, backing by real assets, and ethical agreements, could it actually hold some valuable lessons for all of us?